A superb cast isn't the only strong aspect of a picture that takes Alexandre Dumas' story back to the cinema with some interesting plot alterations but, above all, with the ambition to be modern and contemporary while honoring the plot's and locations' classicism. The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan. One would wonder what sense it makes today, in the year 2023, to bring yet another rendition of one of the most filmed stories ever, that of the Three Musketeers, imagined and written by Alexandre Dumas in 1844, to the big screen. Assuming the question makes sense, which I'm not sure it does, the response here is in the same way that the screenwriters Mathieu Delaporte and Alexandre de la Patellier, and director Martin Bourboulon, thought about and made their picture. The last Musketeers we'd seen in the movies were the comical ones by Giuseppe Veronese, which were closer to Brancaleone's Monicelli than Dumas' epic. We had previously seen P.W. Anderson's super action, Carnival, and clockpunk versions, so Dumas forgive him. Before that, there was the Disney 90s version, with all of the ramifications of Disney and the 1990s. So, in The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan immediately stands out and is noticed for his desire to take himself seriously, as the €70 million budget proves, without being serious, and for his ability to unite classicism and contemporaneity without ever losing his balance or becoming a sideshow. Bourboulon's movie is not perfect, but it is cinema, good and substantial. Where cinema here means, first and foremost, the ability to create a story utilizing all of the instruments available to a director today, but also its tradition and classicism. That type of cinema naturally contrasts with contemporary cinema, which, in terms of blockbusters and large productions, tends to veer towards the video game, or the playground, and in any case towards a virtualization of the experience, the story, and the characters on the screen. Where technology is missing, or, if present, is hidden, the experience is clearly physical. None of the clothes, sounds, earth, horses, swords, or intrigues appear unreal or amusing, but rather concrete, substantial, and serious. Now, unlike in The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan allows himself a few moments of levity or irony. Think about the sentimental interludes between D'Artagnan and Costanza. But the demiurge puppeteer's lightness and humor are never cheeky, mannered, or an implicit wink at the spectator. The same can be said for the action and fight scenes, in which Bourboulon never gets caught up in postmodern action frenzies while also setting up fights and chases with all the dynamism, and, once again, physicality, required for their credibility and presentability in the contemporary cinema landscape. The fact that The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan manages to be contemporary without being overly postmodern, and classic without appearing out of date, is seen and understood even in a world where the screenplay has decided to balance faithfulness and betrayals with respect to Dumas' text. A text that is instantly recognized, even especially when the film deviates from the original. If we are familiar with the Musketeers, and if Vincent Cassel, Athos, Roman Duris, Aramis, Pio Marmor, Porthos, and François Civil, D'Artagnan, have been their best interpreters for at least decades now, here is the milady played by a radiant Eva Green who seems born for the part and who becomes the master of history when she appears, deviates from tradition, becomes more active, ruthless, and modern. And if Bourboulon, Delaporte, and de la Patellier have emphasized the aspect of religious war already present in the novel, and staged a real terrorist attack, in the heart of the kingdom, it cannot help but recall certain contemporary implications, as well as tragic events that occurred in France a few years ago, but without ever making this heavy allegorical carry capable of moving, or burying, the epic enter of a great adventure novel. The Three Musketeers, D'Artagnan is a film capable of its own epic because of its tremendous and explicit romantic nature. Not unexpectedly, perhaps, given all of this, he enables himself to end his novel with a continue, something that eventually only Peter Jackson permitted himself to do with his Lord of the Rings trilogy. A romantic personality that captivates, intrigues, and engrosses. A romantic nature that is bolstered by the obvious but never complacent attention paid to the costumes, sets, and casting, which, in addition to those already mentioned, is bolstered by a truly well-matched real couple such as the one formed by Louis Garrel and Vicky Krieps, now at ease in regal and splendid period attire. Of course, it is somewhat surprising that even very secular France, one of the last pockets of resistance to ultra-correct and inclusive deviances and anything else coming from the American and Anglo-Saxon worlds, has given in here, partially, by making Porthos a character who confesses her bisexuality, in the name of appetites that do not make too many distinctions, and Constance Bonacieux, the Queen's very trusted wardrobe keeper, a North African girl. Lina Kudry, however, very good as always, and as we will see in November. But none of this appears to be forced, and it has no effect on the viewing experience. Especially since the first Black Musketeer in history will be included in the second chapter of this diptych, The Three Musketeers, Milady. Of cinema history, but especially of the one with a capital S.